Within the Trump administration, there are a lot of leaks going on. And I'm wondering if a lot of that goes back to his combative relationship with the intelligence agencies and its payback time. What is happening?
Some of that is possible, and you're always going to deal with career people in Washington who don't owe political allegiance to you. They are an important part of government, which the president, I think, has come to understand.
All right, former water prosecutor Robert Ray, even he quick to acknowledge that there is a lot of leaking going on here. Why that's the case is anyone's guess. We know it was important, these leaks to Democrats during the campaign last year, not so much right now this year with this president, a former Bush 43 Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove, on that aspect of this, because that gets to be a constant problem for this administration, and there are a lot of leakers. What do you think?
Yeah, there are. You can't tell your leakers without a scorecard, Neil. And can we break them down? We got the non-intel leaks. These are the ones where it's about process and about things that are going on in the West Wing and things the president may or may not be thinking. Our biggest current leaker is Comey, who's obviously going back to his notes and his internal memoranda and through a friend or friends leaking them to the press. We have government officials, people who are career officials, who've been privy to some things that have occasionally been sort of sourced in the coverage. We got former government officials. This happened particularly in January and February. These were people who were, you know, obviously served in the Obama administration and had some connection inside the administration or an agency. But here are the two troubling ones. White House staffers. Outside of the intel area, this is the principal source of the leaks against the administration. I counted up in one Washington Post story 11 negative quotes about things going on in the West Wing from at least nine staffers in the West Wing. And then we got, of course, friends, some of them who are real friends and some of them who are styled as friends, who are quoted, people who've been who visited the West Wing or talked to Trump or claimed to have talked to Trump. But this is, I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Why is it happening? What do you... Here's what I don't understand, Carl. I know this happens in administrations. Maybe you dealt with this with the last President Bush. But I've never seen it on steroids like this.
Yeah. Well, look, I think part of it is that there are no consequences for doing it. I am most mystified by the fact that so many people in the West Wing are spending so much time trashing their colleagues, ill-serving the president in the process. But that is a deliberate decision on their part to, you know, I'm going to take out this faction by leaking something about him or saying something ugly about him, or he is so bad, here's the nickname we've given him. I mean, this is really problematic, and the president needs to set the tone, and the president needs to enforce the tone. It strikes me that if he can find somebody who's actually leaked, fire him, and then send the message out the West Wing. If you're trashing one of your colleagues, you're trashing me. If you're trashing a policy that we've agreed upon, you're trashing me. If you're trashing me, you're trashing our administration and thereby hurting our ability to serve the people who sent us here, and I won't tolerate it. But it's got to be from him.
A lot of them claim right now, or again, you're going on leaks, so what do I know, that they're all exasperated, that they don't like being fingered for all of this, when they blame it on the president, that he's visceral, changes his mind pretty often, doesn't let him in on stuff, so they're just tired of it. I mean, I don't know where it all begins and ends, but I just know that this stuff doesn't end, and now ahead of a foreign trip that's going to be very crucial for the president. How do you think this goes?
Well, let me come back to the foreign trip in just a minute. Let me say about people being exasperated and talking about it to the press. Again, they shouldn't be doing it, but you can understand people are getting worn down because the president has put them sometimes by his own actions in places where they don't want to be. Take last week. He made the decision to fire Comey by sending his former head of personal security over to the FBI headquarters with a manila folder containing the letter. Nobody knew where Comey was. Rather than pulling him into the Oval and looking him in the eye and saying, I've lost confidence in you, it's time for you to go, he sends that over. That made him look petty.
And so you think he should have done that in person? That the kind of thing?
Yeah, or had his chief of staff do it in person. But they should at least know that he's not on the West Coast. Second of all, they don't have their act together. He doesn't let the press people, the communications people know until Keith Schiller has left the White House and arrived at the FBI before he finally brings in the communications people and says, figure out now how you're going to explain this. And we saw that terrible episode on Tuesday night where finally, you know, we got Sean Spicer hiding behind the bushes and we got Kellyanne Conway out there. I mean, it was not pleasant. But at least they had a message, particularly Spicer and Sarah Huckabee Sanders had a message in which they stayed religiously on Wednesday and Thursday. And then Thursday, the president blew it all up by telling Lester Holt, well, I didn't rely upon the Rod Rosenstein memo that my communicators have been pointing to. I'd made the decision before I ever got that advice, before I ever got that memo. So a lot of this is self-inflicted. And the way that you solve that is for the president to recognize that he needs to change and to rally the people around him. He's a business leader. You got to be able to understand you've got to change your behavior. Now's not the time to be talking about firing people willy-nilly and a huge shakeup in the West Wing. Now's the moment to get everybody steadied up, focused on what you're doing, and then say to them, you know, we're in this together and get things moving in the right direction, which the foreign trip gives him a chance to do. Look, he has done really well in these meetings with foreign leaders. What I hear back from sort of the foreign affairs community is that most of these foreign leaders say, wow, I had a productive meeting. He's empathetic. He listened to me. He was well briefed. He wanted to find out what I thought. He paid attention to what I said. He showed some flexibility on things that I was worried about. So he has a chance. Saudi Arabia, they're desperate to have a United States that has resolution, resolve, and determination to fight ISIS and to stare down Iran. Israel, our longtime ally, the visit to Italy may be a little bit more problematic because their politics is so upset, but he's going to go visit with the Pope. We'll hear about all the things that he said bad about the Pope last year, and then he'll go to these meetings with foreign leaders, and my sense is that we're going to be surprised in a week or so to find that they were largely constructive.
Yeah, if he ever gets the credit for that. All right, Karl Rove, thank you very much, my friend. Have a safe weekend. Yeah,
and will you toss that time cover for me again? That was really good, the way you sort of flipped it back and down.
It's outrageous. Yeah. Look at that. Absolutely. That is outrageous. Yeah. It's a fact. The White House is, you know, it makes me want to toss it again. Thank you, Karl. There.